Welcome to the Kolbecast, episode 69. Glad you could join us. Today, Bonnie and Stephen are rejoined by members of Kolbe's staff. In line with the changes in weather, the group discusses developments at Kolbe, along with tips to help guide your school year. We hope you'll enjoy the show.
Hi there, I'm Bonnie, liturgical musician, popcorn and podcast fanatic, and Kolbe homeschooling mom to 4 lads and lasses of middle and high school age.
And this is Stephen, homeschooling father of 5 and director of development for Kolbe Academy.
Stephen and I are joined today by Megan Lengyel, Everett Buyarski, and Nicole O'Connor here in this midterm week for a temperature check, as Jordan would say, how things are going this school year. Hi, guys.
Hey.
Hi.
Morning.
We're happy to have you with us today. We thought we'd just kind of check in and see how things are going here in this point in the school year. We've had the pleasure of visiting with you guys as a trio on episode 30, Guiding the Ship. If folks want to go back and listen to that, that was recorded last school year. It's fun to have you back as a trio here again to see how this school year is going. So as a way of getting started, before we get into that though, we've had Everett and Nicole join us on other episodes as well, which we will link in our show notes. But I think might be an opportunity for us to get to know Mrs. Megan Lengyel just a little bit better. And folks are probably well acquainted with her name in their email inbox if they are families in the online school or otherwise. She's been with Kolbe for a long time.
Well, it feels like, I've almost been involved at Kolbe for as long as I haven't been involved in Kolbe in my whole life. Not quite, but getting there. I started working at Kolbe in 2004. Craig's my husband, we had just got married about 4 or 5 months before and had finished grad school at Oklahoma. Both of us have masters in meteorology, and he got a position out in Petaluma, California, doing air quality forecasting. So I kind of went down the road of trying to find a teaching job at the community college in meteorology, and that didn't really work out. And this is really before anybody could work remotely, So it happened that my sister, Maureen, at the time, was dating the oldest grandson of one of our founders, Diane and Jerry Muth. She was dating Chris, their oldest grandson. And Chris and my sister, Maureen, had just graduated from the University of Dallas. And Chris's younger brother, Matt, had just graduated from Kolbe Trinity, the day school that's out there in Napa. So they were having a big graduation party, and they invited me and my sisters who had helped us drive out there. Actually, I guess my sisters were already gone at that point. It was like later in June. And so Craig and I went out to the Rolls house in Napa. And while I was there, I mentioned I was looking for a job, and they're like, "Oh, well, we always need help in the homeschool over the summer. Do you're welcome to just come and pick up some hourly work or whatever." So I was like, okay, I needed to make money. So I started commuting from Petaluma to Napa for starting, I think it was beginning or end of June of 2004. So I'm there for a couple weeks, and I'm sure a lot of people who are listening know who Nancy Nelson is. And Nancy Nelson comes out of the bookstore kind of in a tizzy because the physics textbook that we had been using at the time was going out of print, or they were going to a new edition, and the new edition had, chapter 1 was now chapter 12 and da-da-da-da. So the course plan that we had to go with it was no longer going to work with this book. So I just kind of raised my hand. I was like, hey, I was a physics major, so, I could take a look at that. And she just looks at me like, oh, okay, because it's August, and usually back then what would happen is our teachers that were at Kolbe's day school would write the homeschool course plans for us. But because this was like August 15th, they were just starting school, and there was no way. They would always do it over the summer. Well, the summer had passed, and here we were. So anyway, I spent the next couple of weeks creating my first science course plan for Kolbe Academy. Ended up landing me a position there, a permanent position as the math and science curriculum advisor. And so for the next, 8 or 9 years, I basically revamped all of Kolbe's math and science curriculum from kindergarten all the way up to 12th grade. And, since then, there's still a lot of course plans that they don't actually have my name on them, but when I look at them, I go, that one was mine. And it's funny, this past weekend, my family went camping with the Atlanta area Catholic Torch group that's here. And I met someone who has used Kolbe's math and science forever. And she came up and just thanked me for them, not knowing that I had actually written a lot of these course plans. But the one that she was particularly happy with was our physical science course plan, which was probably the second or third course plan I wrote. And that particular book has not gone out of print, and it has stayed, and yet it's still current. So we haven't replaced it yet. And I just kind of laughed as she was like, that course plan is so excellent. I love what you do. And I was just like, wow, thank you. Like, it just meant so much because nobody ever tells you the good stuff, right? They always tell you what the problems are. So anyway, that's kind of how I landed the Kolbe position, if you will. And I've worn a lot of hats over the years. And when we kind of got the nudge to start the online school in 2013, I kind of led the way on that. And now I'm in the position that I'm in. And to wrap up the story, my sister Maureen married Chris eventually. And Chris is now the chief operating officer. So him and I are colleagues. And Maureen just began teaching for the elementary program this year. And she's a fourth grade elementary teacher. So it's kind of like a nice, rounded story there.
I love it. I love it. It is so fun hearing how you came to Kolbe. And now I understand that you have 4 children, right?
Correct.
And the oldest 2 are doing Kolbe this year. Is that right?
That's right. Yes. So originally the plan was that as my children aged out of our Catholic school that's around the corner, it's an elementary school, K through 8, that they would then start high school with Kolbe as 9th graders. So my oldest was definitely on that track, going to start 9th grade. And this past summer, my rising 7th grader was kind of begging me to do it. And I just kind of pish paw. You'll get there. When you're in 9th grade, you'll get to do it too. And then it just eventually kind of, he wore me down. And I was like, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea for Colin to have his sibling around so they can beat up on each other in between classes. So anyway, yeah, we ended up starting both boys at Kolbe this year, and it's been a wonderful experience. It's challenging being a parent and seeing like all the little like inconsistencies and things that humans do. So I'm trying to balance the fact that we do our best to be as consistent as possible, and at the end of the day, like I know we're all humans trying to do our best, and things get missed. So it is interesting, but I do think it helps me kind of focus in on areas that we could improve, areas that we're doing really well. And it gives me a perspective on workload and that sort of thing. And we're coming from being used to a brick and mortar where the kids are in school 8 hours a day and then have homework afterwards. So from that perspective, the workload has been very manageable. I think one of the things that's interesting as a parent is you really you witness the work. So like when you send your kid to school, they do a lot of work when they're at school, but you don't witness it. So it's not quite as like overwhelming to you as a parent, but when you're witnessing everything that they have to do and you have to be the one that facilitates it just has a different feel to it. I don't know how to explain it. So that's been something that's been different. And I did go a little bit overboard on the number of classes that I signed my oldest up for, but so far he's been handling it very well. He's in like 7 classes. I told him if he took Latin, he didn't have to take English 9. So he took me up on that, and he's grateful for it. But this week being midterm week, to tell a little anecdote about this, the challenge has been that only 3 of his classes have midterms. So he only had 3 classes that were canceled, basically, because of the midterm. And he's got 4 classes that meet twice a week. So, because he's got 2 foreign languages, math, and science. So there's been, it hasn't been quite as a relief in terms of number of classes canceled so that he has more time to study. But we've been managing regardless. There's been enough extra time. He didn't have biology lab on Monday or seminar on Monday, so he had plenty of time Monday to get studying done. And we've just been trying to knock out 1 exam per day and just kind of pushing along. And in my 7th grader, it's been a lot. He has a lot of time because, again, he'll need 3 exams, and English is a twice a week class. So he's like down to, I don't think like tomorrow, I don't think he only has Latin, and that's it. And he's already taken all of his midterms. So
nice.
So
it's like a fall break.
Yeah. He's going to have a little bit of a break. So I have these dreams of like, when it's semester final week right before Christmas, that, they're all going to take their exams in the first 2 days, and then we're going to start our Christmas break early, and it's going to be awesome, but we'll see.
Yep.
So.
That sounds wildly optimistic.
I'm an optimist.
Based on my own experience with students last year.
I'm with you. We'll have high hopes. That's good. It's like you can dangle that, like the sooner you get them done, the sooner you're on Christmas vacation, right? And the fall break thing here, everyone around us has a fall break. And so that's sort of a sticking point. Like, what are we having a fall break? Like, well, if you finish your exams, voila, fall break.
Fall break.
You do get a whole week at Thanksgiving.
Remember, you get Friday off every day or every week.
Right? Yeah. Well, if those of us who are in the closed Facebook groups for the classes in the 9th and 7th grade classes might be wondering, is this the same person? Yes, it is. It's Mrs. Lengyel in the Facebook group. So it's fun to see you interacting with us in the Facebook groups, sharing your experience and celebrating successes with us. And it's been really neat. It's great to have you among us that way.
I will tell you, when I'm in those Facebook groups, I completely overthink my responses because I don't want to come off as like the know-it-all parent, and I don't want to come off as the administrator. So trying to do that balance of like, I'm right there with you guys, yet I have all this other knowledge that makes it easier for me, as a parent going through. So
I think you've nailed that. You've done a beautiful job with that. It's been
Thank
great.
you.
I feel like your name has been a household name in my family of origin for a long time. So I was hazy though on your origin story. So I love hearing it. That's great.
Yes, I would say Hope, who is Bonnie's sister, was probably one of my most memorable students when it came to math and science. She was very interested in doing kind of the rigorous math and science, and she would always ask me questions when she had them. She was active on our forum, which is no longer. But she's kind of like my first online student, if you will. So I have very fond memories of her and the interactions. It's hard to believe that she's actually like a lawyer and a grown-up now.
Right.
Like so old.
No. They have such affection for you and appreciation for you. And I've heard them speak of you with such fondness over the years. And so that's fun to hear the story. I love that. So let's just take a few minutes to check in on these various things. Everett, what do you think? How are things going from your point of view?
Absolutely. No, I think the big thing, we've got a lot of different things going on, but one of the big projects that we're working on right now with advising team is our upcoming virtual college fair. So people may remember from past years, we've had opportunities, we'd bring colleges in, give presentations on their colleges with our kind of virtual college visits, but those tended to be spread out over the course of maybe 2 or 3 months. So what we've decided to do this year is to consolidate that, to bring all of them in on a single day. So on Friday, October 29th, we are going to have 11 colleges come and visit us. These are your Newman Guide Catholic colleges that you're used to hearing from and having people visit. So from throughout the day, they'll be coming in for half-hour blocks to give a presentation on the college. There'll be a breakout room open immediately after the presentation, where if anybody wants to meet with the admissions representative for that college, they can ask individual questions of them. While the main room will have the next presentation coming up. We'll also have a couple of keynote addresses. We'll be joined by Jeremy Tate of the CLT, who's the head of the CLT, talking about why your college choice might matter and why an education like the one that we're providing might and the sorts of things that CLT is doing might point you logically towards the kinds of colleges that we have joining us. And we're especially pleased to also be joined by Patrick Riley, the president of the Cardinal Newman Society, who will be talking to us about why you should choose to attend a Catholic college. why should you be looking at these colleges, given everything that you've sacrificed to put your child through school, especially the kind of education that you're receiving at Kolbe Academy? Why would you want to send them on so that you can continue those kinds of education? So we'll be talking about that. We're really happy to join them. We have a long relationship with the Carleton Lumen Society and with all of these colleges. And I think it'll be a really fantastic event.
That sounds great. It's on October 29th.
That's correct.
Okay, great. And we'll be getting links coming out from
Yep, there should be
via
emails
email
coming
and
out.
things.
Emails coming out from our marketing team. There's an initial save the date that went out. There'll be some emails coming out about registration, so you can sign up and get it on your calendar. And we'll have the complete list of colleges and some marketing information as well.
Great. I'll look forward to that. Jeremy Tate was on episode 38 of the Kolbecast. It's called Substance Matters. We'll put a link to that in our show notes. You can hear more about where he came from and the founding of that exam and some of his thoughts around that. So that will pair nicely with this event, and we're looking forward to that. That'll be great. How are other things going? Otherwise,
I think we're as Megan and Nicole have been mentioning. We're thick in the middle of midterms here in the online program. Depending on when students started parents and students started their year in the homeschool program, some people are actually approaching the end of their quarter right now. So we're starting to hear parents are starting to report things into us. I think right now is really just a great time to be kind of stop and take, as you mentioned, that temperature check. How are things going for us right now? Are there some courses that are working really well? Are there some courses that maybe we're struggling a little bit with? Are we noticing some things in our homes that maybe we're looking and going, this just doesn't seem to be quite optimal with how we're structured? And I think this is a great time of the year to be checking in with your grade level advisors, to reach out to them for some of those pieces of what's going on. You just give them a call, send them an email, make an appointment with them to check in on just how are your students doing. And are any of those things that you'd like to be maybe talking about? It's always unfortunately sometimes we hear from parents who in December and January that they've been struggling throughout this fall season. But obviously, if we haven't heard from them, we don't have the opportunity to help them, and we'd love to be in contact with you if there are any of those struggles that you're encountering.
something that stuck out in our conversation that we had on episode 43 with you and Erica Treat, the grade examine, the checking in frequently, more sooner rather than later with advisors, sending in grade reports at the end of the semester, quarter, not waiting till the end of the year like I'd been doing, that more frequent communication with you, how that can be very helpful and encouraging that. That was great. Nicole, how are things going for you?
Things are going well. Thank you. Things are going well. We're in year 2 of the elementary program, so still building and communicating with our parents, what's working, what isn't working. We made a big change this year for our 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. Last year, we had a very streamlined, easy model. They had one teacher and everything was on one page. But in reviewing that, we made the change to allow for, first of all, a more scaffolded approach up to the upper school. So they get used to having at least 2 pages before they have maybe 7 when they get to 6th grade. And then also just being able to provide more subject-specific accountability and professional development to our teachers. And then also just having a good pulse on consistency between our elementary teachers, getting the students used to having more than one and having them work together. So I think it's been going really well. I know from the teacher side, I've seen a lot of fruits of their collaboration and of working together and 2 teachers having a pulse on those students. One thing that has come to light that I'm really thankful that we were able to see is that organization. We know this with elementary children is so hard. My daughter loses all her papers, whether she's in homeschool or in a classroom. It doesn't matter. It's just a
Right.
really hard thing. And when you're a virtual student, it's even harder because we need a consistent word or tool to be able to communicate with these children. Where are your papers for today? Because if every child has a different system, it's really hard for the teachers to pull them in. So we've just been troubleshooting, with this model change. They now have 2 teachers. They have multiple pages. What is something we can include in the beginning of the year, like a syllabus or something, where they all have the same kind of folder model or something that can be used as a touch point? And so with that, I think we learned that we have this great opportunity to now start teaching organizational skills as part of our program with the 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. So then they build on that in 6th grade when they go to homeroom, and they'll have that all through their education at Kolbe. But, I know in a lot of brick and mortar schools, they start having the students write in their planner in 3rd grade. and they're just starting to introduce those concepts. So that's something that I think this new model brought to light, and something I'm really excited to work with. We revamped our virtue program a little bit this year using the Dominican Sisters of Nashville curriculum, and I'm really, really loving that. I think that's going really well. Trying to gear those videos more towards our homeschool families and online, so we can all join in the community there. So that's going well. I guess the only other real change, we made placements for math, which has been good for differentiating math. We added science and history, which has been going well. And then we also added homework hangout this year, which, this year is really our year to troubleshoot what is the best use of this time. And I think more than anything for these elementary kids, having a daily touch point with their teachers available to them has been a really good add to the program. I think we'll continue to, revise and strengthen what is offered during that time, but as an available time for teachers and for students to chat with their classmates, I think it's been very successful. So those are the big things. K-2 is plugging along, same as last year, same model. So the teachers are getting to do the fun, creative stuff, building on their work. We're still working on utilizing RAS kids the best way we can, and getting them reading a lot of great books. I think they're starting Boxcar Children in 2nd grade coming up soon. So they always enjoy that one. So lots to look forward to.
A lot of good stuff going on. That's great.
Yeah, so what a great program that is. I'm so glad that you can help out these families with the young children with that. But what a challenge as well. And I think about even just the variation in my 5 children as they've gone through. It has to be quite a challenge to kind of get everything working together there. So
it is. I will say our teachers are pioneers, and I owe the success to them. They have just come together, from the beginning of us starting this program, of having student needs at the forefront, communicating so they're all on the same page, and then, communicating with myself, me bringing it to Megan, and making sure we have this plan of, okay, we're introducing penmanship in kindergarten. Where do we want them by 5th grade? Or so making sure every year. And then, with K-2, kids learn to read at different times. I think that's the biggest piece. Is some kids take off reading in preschool, and some, they really launch end of 1st grade. And so I think the families that we have and their willingness to partner with us and view it as this parent partnership has been a really big tool in making that age group specifically successful, because like you said, there's a lot of differentiation that has to occur, and there's a lot of flexibility needed. If your child is not reading yet, and there's, a little bit of more lap sitting assignments that need to happen where you're pointing with your child more, that does fall more on the parent. But I think having that authority, a teacher who can guide you and hold you accountable. I hate reading logs, but I love them because they hold me accountable sometimes. Like, just that added accountability, especially when you have multiple children in the program, I think has been a really good piece of those younger grades, that they are a little squirrely, but they have fun.
definitely. Yeah.
We're looking forward to talking to some of the elementary school teachers. Those will be coming out soon. We're looking forward to getting to know some of those teachers and hearing more about the parent partnership that everyone is working toward. Where do things stand now with Kolbe's growth? How many times a day do you all answer this question? How many families are enrolled with Kolbe now? There's been a lot of growth from last year. Did that carry over into this year?
Yeah, so last year was a pandemic year. This year is turning out to be a little bit of a pandemic year, not as much. But we kind of overdid it with teacher course loads last year. So there was a lot of hiring that we did this year, especially in the middle school. So we ended up, I think we are at 68 teachers right now. And last year we were at 53. And even last year at 53, that includes the 14 elementary teachers that we hired. And we only had 3 new elementary teachers this year. So for the most part, everybody came back. So that means that it's about I think it was 19 new teachers in 6 through 12. So lots of new teachers. We have a very big class of new teachers, and we do a lot of new teacher support. And so that's very helpful. Our department chairs do an excellent job of supporting them. We give them mentors, that sort of thing. So then as far as students go, I don't know if Everett, maybe you have the number of families, but first of all, we have rolling admission for the homeschool program. So we haven't quite topped out at the number of students that we'll have. I think we were at, last I looked, we had about 2,600 total students. What's most interesting is we have about the exact same number of online students this year as we did last year. So we had about 800 in the 6 through 12 program last year, and we have just a little bit over that this year in 6 through 12. And then K through 5, we were around, I think it was 290 maybe, or 300 for K through 5, and we're around like 260, so we're a little bit down in K through 5. But, it's been great to know that our families wanted to come back. We had a lot of families that were like, I was forced to homeschool last year and then realized how much our family benefited from it, how much I enjoyed it, how much it was good for our family, it was good for our faith. So we had a lot of families that we retained this year, even though they did have those opportunities to go back to in-person school in their local school district or Catholic schools. So that's been just amazing. So yeah, I mean, our online program pretty much stayed exactly the same as last year. And you never know what this pandemic's going to do in terms of increasing enrollment or not increasing enrollment. It's interesting to watch. It's interesting to watch the news and go, how's that going to affect enrollment next year? Do I need to start hiring now?
Yeah, absolutely. And so, I mean, as far as Megan mentions overall numbers, we are down a little bit this year from last year, which is kind of to be expected. Interestingly, as Megan mentioned, the biggest drop is actually in numbers of homeschool students. We have fewer students who are enrolled homeschooling. And actually, the largest number of those homeschool students who didn't return this year were at the elementary level. This has been the biggest drop as students, probably in that K through 5 area, K through 5 homeschool students who we had more of them last year. We have fewer of them this year. But we're still up over 2 years ago. We're still up about 600 students from where we were 2 years ago at this time. So it's substantial growth. It's been a really exciting time to be a part of everything that we have going on, and to see kind of what we have left to come.
Oh, wow. It's interesting, the sort of variances, data analysis, like I know you like, Stephen.
Yes.
This year, you have introduced an NHS chapter at Kolbe, which is gaining some steam now. Those students have begun some peer tutoring. There are a lot of neat things happening there. Tell us about the NHS chapter, Megan.
Sure. So we've been looking at adding a chapter of NHS for a while now. One of the things that allowed us to add the chapter was getting accredited. So it's been very much in the works for many years. So we had our first NHS application open back in, I think it was due maybe June 1st or something like that. And to qualify for National Honor Society at Kolbe, students need to have been taking 4 Kolbe courses each year that they're enrolled with us. So if you're a 10th grader applying for admission to NHS, that means that in your 9th grade year, you should have taken at least 4 Kolbe classes. They don't have to be online classes. They can be homeschool courses, but they do need to have the full Kolbe designation that goes with it, if you want to call it that. And then subsequently, if you're applying in 11th grade, you would have had to have 4 in 9th and 4 in 10th. And then to stay eligible for NHS, you have to continue taking at least 4. And then the other qualifier is that you have to have a minimum GPA of 3.5 in those Kolbe courses. Any other qualifiers? I think those are the main 2. And then, so if you qualify for NHS, you receive an invitation to apply for NHS. So just because you qualify for it doesn't mean you automatically get in. So the application consists of, you have to upload your transcripts, you have to get some recommendations from adults, teachers, youth group leaders, that kind of thing. And then you also have to submit a writing sample. And then we have a board of NHS advisors that goes through those applications and admits the students based on those applications. And we'll be having another NHS induction on November 16th, Tuesday, November 16th. And we usually stream that, I believe. I think we streamed the first one. So it's kind of exciting. And the main purpose of NHS is not only scholarship, but also service. And to open the chapter, we were required to have some central service project that all the NHS members could work on. And so that's how we came up with the peer tutoring idea. And it was something that I really wanted to have anyway. And this was like perfect. Like, okay, now we have, volunteers that have to get volunteer hours and they're, pretty, smart kids that can help other students. And they even created the program. So the first round of students that we inducted back earlier this year were the ones that kind of established how they wanted to do the peer tutoring. So they ended up coming up with something really great. I'm sure it will change every time you have a new program, right? You try something and you go, okay, that didn't work. Let's do it this way. So right now what we're doing is Monday evenings, there's 2 Adobe Connect rooms open, one for math and science and one for humanities. And then on Friday evenings, there's one open for math and science and the other one's open for foreign languages. And then the NHS members all sign up for the rooms that they want to cover. So if you're more comfortable with math and science, then you'll probably sign up for those. If you're more comfortable with humanities, you'd sign up to cover that one. And students just kind of come in and wait their turn to ask questions. Math and science definitely seems to be the most popular. So I see those getting a lot of use. And we have our teachers are sort of trying to incentivize students to go try the peer tutoring, especially if they might be struggling in a certain area. I saw my 7th graders math teacher offered a badge if they went and visited peer tutoring. So, and they all like their badges. So that was motivation enough. So it's been really great to see all of the community kind of get on board with it, from the parents to the students that are running the program, and then the teachers saying, hey guys, we have this, use it. And so I hope to see it continue getting a lot of traffic in there as they continue to host those sessions.
Yeah, so far so good there. It's a good opportunity for the NHS students to get to know each other too, working together, collaborating in the sessions. That's neat.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're so right about the badges. I'm seeing that this year. Like, oh wow, the all important badges. All right, so in addition to NHS, we also have a number of clubs. Clubs have been offered for a while, and now there are a great number of them. That has really expanded a lot this year. Let's hear about the clubs.
Yeah, I'm really, really thankful for the clubs we were able to offer this year. So every year we try to offer, as many clubs as we can based on the interests of our students, teachers' availability. And this year we were able to offer a Lego club, which has always been a long time desire because, Legos are timeless. They say to 99, but I'm pretty sure you can still play Legos when you're 104.
Hey, we have high schoolers in that club too. So
I know, it's amazing. It's such a good family activity. I know sometimes in elementary they'll even allow the kids when they're making projects. I know in 4th grade they just did a pyramid project and they were allowed to use Legos to construct their pyramid and then do their presentation on it. So good fine motor, sensory, all that. So I'm all about it. But yeah, that club, our 5th grade teacher is facilitating a Lego club. And she sent me some videos of the kids' work, and we have some very talented Lego artists at Kolbe. So we'll have to showcase some of those in one of our newsletters. We also have a baking club, which my daughter participated in last year, which left our kitchen very messy, but very happy. They made pasta and cookies and all sorts of things, which I feel like that's one of the benefits of homeschool, right? You're in your home, so why not be able to utilize some of those wonderful learning opportunities? And we have a really cool cooking club that I'll let Megan talk about. That's in the upper school that our science teacher is hosting.
That does it neat.
Yeah, Mrs. Hoxie, who I've already mentioned, I think twice on this podcast. I know
she was on episode
is.
21, To Live Fully Alive.
Yeah.
Early days of the Kolbecast. Early days. It's going back a ways. So we'll put that link in the notes too, and hope to have her back soon. Yep.
Yeah, well, she asked if she could run a culinary science club. So they are specifically doing cooking that it pertains to science. And for those of you that don't know, Mrs. Hoxie is our science department chair. She also teaches Theology 9. She has a degree both in theology and in science. So we are very, very lucky to have her. And she always has very creative ideas. So I'm actually going to plug another one of her ideas in a second here. But so the Culinary Science Club will be specifically talking about like the chemistry and cooking and that sort of thing. And it just sounds really awesome. And then the other thing she's doing, which is not a club, but it's an activity, and I'm excited about it. She is doing a pumpkin carving contest that is science themed.
Oh,
Of course, all the online science classes, the teachers are going to really be promoting it. But anybody can participate. That's a student that has access to Schoology, because it will be you have to submit your stuff into Schoology. But I'm very excited about that. She's very creative. So that's our culinary science. I did also want to mention that we also have a baking club for middle school that is run by Mrs. Bates, and Mrs. Bates is also running the 3 through 5 baking club, I believe. So there is baking for everybody. There is cooking for everybody if they want it.
Isn't she also doing a sewing club for elementary and middle?
She is. She is also doing a sewing club. So she is just amazing. There's still some teachers that are reaching out to me going, "Hey, can I run this club and can I run that club?" So there may still be some clubs coming down the road. We have coding club's a big one. That one is for grades 6 through 12. I don't have the list of me. Of course, we have all the foreign language clubs. There's a Latin club, Spanish club, French club. Those are all available for grades 6 through 12. We have newsletter. If you ever read any of the newsletters that the students put together, it's completely written by students. That's aimed at grades 9 through 12 because you have to have a little more writing background. We are trying to kick off a news show, a Kolbe news show also. It may be more of a second semester thing because it's just getting off the ground. And the idea is it'll just be like a quick 10-minute news show. I'm hoping they'll collaborate with our spiritual life group because on Mondays we do, usually we do like the gospel and a daily prayer. And it's real short, like 3 to 5 minutes. So we were hoping to have them collaborate and also add on some Kolbe news stuff. So that's very exciting. Am I missing any other?
So we have a husband and wife doing our creative writing, Mr. and Mrs.
Right.
Castor, which is
Yeah.
awesome. So Mrs. Castor is our 3rd grade teacher, and she's doing elementary creative writing. And her husband, Mr. Castor, is in the theology department in the upper school, and he's doing creative writing with the older kids. So that's a good one. And then I forgot to mention our science club for elementary. We have the Mendelites, who are studying Catholic scientists and science under the lens of our faith, which is for 3rd to 5th graders. It's our 4th grade teacher, Mrs. Phelps, who's doing that one. So that's been good too. Yeah, we have a lot this year. So many. Find your passion. There's something for everyone.
Yeah.
An impressive list.
And another thing I'll mention is that we opened clubs this year to all students. So even if you are a student only taking homeschool courses, you may sign up for a club. And the way that you do that is that all parents were sent an email for signing up for clubs, and there's just a link you click in there and you sign up. There are club dues this year, so that's a little bit of a change. But it's the nice thing is now we can give a little stipend to our teachers, and they have a little, which somehow frees them up for more time to hold live classes or live club meetings and that sort of thing. So it's benefiting everybody for sure. And it's a very small fee. It's based on your enrollment status.
They put a lot of work into preparing all the different things that they put forth for the clubs to talk about. It's neat to see what everything's going on and all these projects that are happening. So we're going to be eating well, looking good with our sewing projects, all kinds of fun things happening. Dr. Hassler has a philosophy.
Let me get it right. It's PTA Club is for short, is what he's called it. So it's philosophy, theology, and apologetics. And we went around and around on the title of the club. We were kind of wanting to do a debate club, but we wanted to do it more about like finding truth. And so we ended up coming up with this instead. So I'm excited about it. I think the students that are in there, I mean, they're fantastic students. They just, it's a fun
And for
club.
anyone who doesn't know Dr. Hasler, this is absolutely his background. This is right up his alley. He's been great in our homeroom courses. He's been great teaching the literature and the history. And this year we have a brand new philosophy course, which we're really excited about. A subject that's near and dear to my heart. A course that I've been wanting to write ever since I started at Kolbe, and I've never had the time to do. And so finally, working in conjunction with Dr. Hasler and with Mr. Sens, we were able to put together a book list and a curriculum, and so we were able to kick that off. And so this is kind of just a natural outgrowth of some of those other things that we've got going on. This is a great for your student who's interested in philosophy and theology and apologetics and getting into arguing about the faith and some of the various nuances. This is a great thing to check out. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Sounds fantastic. We visited with him over the summertime. Therese Prudla and I, in episode 64, we talked to Dr. Hasler about the course you guys were working on at that time. And that episode actually just came out here recently. It was really such an enjoyable conversation, fun to hear all about him, get to know him a little bit, and hear about that course. That sounds great, though. And what a good opportunity for the students to really hone those skills that they're working on day in, day out, right? Yeah. So coming up, we have the virtual college fair on October 29th. We've got some programs coming up too. Nicole, you mentioned the Virtues program. That's a monthly thing, right? And so tell us more about that. And then also there's one coming up for All Saints not too long from now.
Yeah, October is one of my favorite months to be a Catholic because there's so many great saints feast days. We kick it off with St. Francis and we have St. Therese. So with the new virtue program, not only do we look at a different virtue every month, but we look at, a couple of saints that help us, have great examples demonstrating the virtue. I think this month was St. Hyacinth and St. Tarcisius, I believe. So we have some really good, they're going to be exposed to a lot of different saints, not just the household names we hear every day. So we just closed out our first virtue month, which we were focusing on growing in faith. And then this next month, I just published the October video, which is focused on reverence. So, the idea is for families to be able to study. So, what is reverence? Look at some saints who demonstrated that. So, with reverence, this outward sign of our internal respect and love for God. And so just looking for ways to call students to that in the classroom as well. So, not typing in the chat box when we're praying is a great way to show your reverence in live class. And then, in the home, there's plenty of ways to do that. So that'll follow us throughout the whole year. There's some shout outs in the newsletter that I believe were published in last Friday's newsletter. So that'll be an ongoing thing. In conjunction with that, we have these random Mondays off this year in elementary, and we've been navigating the best way to do that. And we decided that those weeks, since they're modified weeks, it would be a great time to incorporate some sort of spiritual enrichment for the kids. So on Thursdays, and we'll have more information when the next Monday off comes around, but we'll have a spiritual life activity for them where they, the entire elementary school can come together, look at the saints, look at virtue, pray the rosary, pray a Divine Mercy chaplet, some sort of way of building our community and just keeping that focus the center of, all of our classes and our year. And with that, I'm really excited because we're in October, as I said, my favorite month, and getting ready for All Saints Day, November 1st. And so we have our second annual All Saints Day program. So the students have just started, they selected their saint of choice for this year. They're gathering facts. They're going to write a first person speech and get a costume together. And then on October 25th, in their religion classes, they get to show up as their saint. Their teacher will reference them probably as only the name of the saint, and they'll talk to their classmates and tell them about their life and what they've done for the church and that. So my daughter last year was St. Elizabeth of Hungary, and all day she carried around this little basket of bread, and it was really cute.
Aww.
And it's fantastic. I know the same thing. My son last year was St. Simeon the Stylite, so he got to climb up on a ladder to give his presentation. So he had a kind of so he could be high up, and he just spent the class up there on top of the ladder.
How long did he keep that going? Did it was like the rest of the week or the rest of the
I think it was just for the one class.
Oh.
It was a ladder smack dab in the middle of our living room. So it's one of those the perils of home-based education is that you do these things and you go, I can't leave that for you all week. I'm sorry, that's not going to work for me.
I like the ladder location. This is, yeah. And then we have the Christmas program. Well, the Advent and Christmas program. Megan, we started this a number of years ago. Mrs. Powers told us about this on when she spoke with us. I'll put that link in the show notes as well. In her episode, I think 33, Show Your Work, where she was telling us about the Advent and Christmas program. It sounds like a lot of fun. And for those who haven't yet experienced it, what can you tell us about the Advent and Christmas program?
So, I mean, I think it'll be a similar format to past years. I guess I could give you the date, Thursday, December 16th. It will be at 7 p.m. Eastern, which is also the very last minute that you can turn in your final semester exams for the semester. So it's kind of like a great time to do it because everybody's exams will be turned in for first semester. Christmas break will be starting and it will be wonderful. So, and that's another thing that's very different this year with the calendar. And everybody who's in the online school hopefully already realizes this, but we will be finishing first semester before Christmas break this year, which is just awesome. So everybody's going to get a true break and not have to come back and do their exams. And one of the catalysts for that was adding our K through 5 program because it's a lot more difficult for K through 5 aged students to come back after 2 weeks of break and then have to take assessment of some kind. So that was the catalyst, although we had already been thinking about it previous to that year, and that was kind of the final straw. But I digress from the Christmas concert. It is a wonderful time. Sometimes you get some funny acts from teachers in there. Usually Dr. Almanzar is the MC for the Christmas concert and Mr. Fry is the MC for the Kolbe's Got Talent, and they're both hilarious. I don't know, maybe they'll switch it up this year. I'm not sure who's going to be MCing for sure, but I have a strong hunch it will be one of them that MCs the Christmas concert. So the way that it works is auditions usually open before Thanksgiving. Sometime we'll probably open it early in November, and you submit an audition into Schoology, just a short video of what you would be doing. And those are usually due sometime right after Thanksgiving. And then we have some judges that go through all the auditions and we pick the acts. And I would say if you really want to get in, play the most unique instrument that you play, because a lot of times, I mean, we have amazing piano players at Kolbe, but we have a lot of them. So like, we don't want to have 10 piano acts, but if you happen to play the clarinet or something, we might be, you kind of get a little extra check mark from the judges sometimes.
And playing the clarinet would definitely get you a boost from me as I'm judging. So I think this is an
Everett.
obvious, this is really a big hint there.
Yes. Mr. Buyarski also accepts bribes, I heard. So just kidding. So it is one of my favorite events. It's always we always try to do it as late in the Advent season as possible when it comes to the school calendar. And it's just a wonderful school community building event, and I always, in past years, I always made my kids watch it before they were even Kolbe students. And now I'm actually hoping they might audition, but we'll see. My boys both play the saxophone, but COVID kind of killed the saxophone, the band that they were in. They couldn't, it went away, and they haven't really picked it up yet since then. But we'll see.
The other tip I'd toss out there is we usually have a lot of acts that focus on Christmas music and things, which is great. But it is in the Advent season, and the Catholic Church, of course, has a rich tradition of Advent music. So again, if you want another way to maybe set yourself apart a little bit, see if you maybe lean into that Advent portion. It might get you some extra points from the judges.
Great tip.
So there's also the opportunity to submit artwork, right? If you're not thinking that you want to perform, somehow you can still participate in the event by your visual arts, right?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, I know Mrs. Powers, this will be her last year running the Christmas concert. She's going to be passing the buck on to somebody else. She's been doing it for 5 years. So this is her last Christmas concert. But she's always looking for people to submit art. So if you are an artist, start thinking about that. Start thinking about what you might want to submit. It can be something that you've already created. You don't have to do something original. well, as long as it's original by you, but it doesn't have to be something that you create between now and then.
Neat. It's neat to see those displayed as the acts are, in between the acts and as the program continues. That's neat. Lots to look forward to.
One other thing philosophical I'll toss out there, this is a great way for us to really kind of emphasize that beauty portion, of the classical education is we've
Mhm.
got a lot of emphasis on academics, of course, during the school year, but this is a way to get in the arts, the music and the drawing. Sometimes there are some interesting acts related to dance or to other drama. I'm sure if someone wanted to come up with a creative skit with the theater arts, that's something that would certainly be interesting. We've had a couple of those over the years. Would be interested in all of that.
So, with the goal of finishing the semester strong in mind, we've got lots going on here, lots of good tips already, lots of things to look forward to. And we also have some Kolbecast episodes in the works that will focus on some practical aspects such as essay grading, parent partnerships, and other dimensions of the online elementary experience. So, be on the lookout for those coming down the pike here shortly, along with continued conversations with Kolbe families and administrators and faculty. So, lots going on there. But so, guys, though, how can families at this point, they have hopefully starting to find their stride if they haven't already, or hopefully they will soon. What if they haven't? What are some good recourses they have at this point for getting help to help them finish the semester on a high note?
I think again, like I mentioned, if they're in the homeschool program, this is a great opportunity to kind of reach out to their grade level advisor. I mean, if they're enrolled with Kolbe at all, they have access to their advising staff. So certainly reach out to the advising staff if you have any questions. If they're dealing with issues that are maybe student success related to study skills to activity in class, you can reach out to our dean of students, Mrs. Ashley Massey, in grades K through 8 or Celeste Claire 9 through 12. Or again, if you've got a student, maybe if you've got some special needs going on, it'd be a great time to to reach out to our advisors, and we'll connect you with special needs people on staff as well. So really take advantage of the resources that's one of the key services that we provide here at Kolbe is access to our staff. So go ahead and reach out to us, let us know maybe what you're dealing with, and see if we can find some ways to help with that.
Great. Lots of ways for families to connect as well via Facebook. The online families also have access to groups in Schoology, where students and parents can talk to each other that way and connect outside of class. There are the class Facebook groups that I mentioned earlier, as well as a larger unofficial Facebook group for people who are interested in or use Kolbe a little or a lot. So there are lots of routes that way. The clubs we mentioned, the parent ambassadors, enrolled families have received emails throughout the semester sending information about parent ambassadors who are happy to help answer questions or just walk alongside families as they're living their day-to-day school at home experience.
We have a community building email that's coming out, I think, in the next week or two. It's a repeat of what went out kind of end of August, but everybody's kind of crazy in August trying to get school started. So that'll be going out again, and it does have all the parent ambassador information in there, as well as Facebook groups, how to join clubs, how to connect with other parents, that kind of thing. So.
Great. There's a lot of ways to connect. And on those class Facebook groups, we've mentioned this a few times, bears repeating, though, there are some questions to be answered when families try to join those closed Facebook groups so that we can verify the enrollment of the families who are trying to join. That it kind of helps make it a more secure space, of course, still online, but a more secure space for families to visit. And so I think people, when they tap join group on their phone, sometimes those questions don't show up, and then they're kind of hanging out there like, what's the deal with my membership request? And that's because the questions haven't been answered. And so if that is the case for any of our listeners, that might have something to do with it. So something to check into
And
there.
one of the parent ambassadors is kind of the lead on the Facebook groups. It's Veronica Foreman. Her email's on that parent ambassador information portion of the community building email. So when it comes out, there's something going on with the Facebook group and you haven't been accepted, you can reach out to her.
And she might be reaching out to families
yes,
as well.
she will. She will also reach out to you if there's somebody that's kind of in the middle of signing up or trying to get in and has stalled out or something like that. So
right.
Perfect. Yeah, that's a really good place for K-2 student. I know I've talked to a lot of K-2 parents who want more social opportunities for their little kids. And, our big focus at Kolbe is that all of that is parent led. We want to make sure the parents are on board, the parents are communicating first, and the parents arrange that just to protect the privacy and all our students. So, if you want to have your child try and be a pen pal with someone in their class or things like that, connecting on the Facebook page is a really good place to start.
Thanks everyone for taking this time to check in. Here midway through the semester, here's hoping the rest of it continues in an upward trend. Please come back and talk to us soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks
Thanks
for
for having
having
us.
us.
Thanks for having us. It's nice to talk with all of you.
If you haven't already, subscribe to the Kolbecast in your favorite podcast app for effortless episode delivery. And we'd love to hear from you, so drop us a line at podcast@kolbe.org. Mary our Mother, pray for us. St. Maximilian Kolbe, pray for us. Ad Maiorem Dei Gloriam.